as a new grad, as somebody new to pediatrics, you are going to become a really good therapist because of the amount of time you put in. You learn so much on the job. So you do want to jump in and make sure you're getting as much treatment time as possible so you can learn and practice and just get better. But simultaneously, you have to make sure you're taking those breaks for yourself. Exactly. Make sure you're keeping up on your documentation. Make sure you have time for continuing education. Make sure you're taking time to go outside and drink plenty of water. And that, do your best to not take work home. I think we've all been there where we had to do that, but if you can avoid it, that's great.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jessica, and this is All Things Sensory by Harkla.
We are both certified occupational therapy assistants, and together with Harkla, we are on a mission to empower parents, therapists, and educators to help raise confident and strong children of all abilities.
On this podcast, we chat about all things sensory, diving into special needs, occupational therapy, parenting, self-care, overall health and wellness, and so much more.
We are here to provide raw, honest, and fun strategies, ideas, and information for parents, therapists, and educators, as well as other professionals to implement into daily life.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey there, welcome back to All Things Sensory by Harkla. We're so happy to have you here again today. Welcome if this is your first time. I'm Rachel.
I'm Jessica.
We are the Pediatric Occupational Therapy Assistants here behind the scenes, not really behind the scenes, in the front scene of the podcast. So we're happy here.
We're in the front of the scene. Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. Something great.
We're going to talk about what happens when you're a new pediatric therapist and some of the mistakes that get made, some of the mistakes that we made. And if you are a new pediatric OT practitioner, this is really for you.
Yeah. So we came up with our 5 top mistakes that we feel happen the most often. 5 mistakes we definitely made. And so we really want to try and prevent that from happening to our fellow therapists, or if you are not a new grad, but maybe you're new to pediatrics, maybe you've had a life career change and you're like going from geriatrics to pediatrics and you're starting fresh. Here is what you need to know to avoid. Most of it comes down to burnout and not supporting our clients the best that we can.
Yes, that's true. Mistake number 1 is not taking enough continuing education and not staying organized with your continuing education. So in order to maintain your license, you have to take a certain number of continuing education hours through your state, but also through the national board and BCOT. And if you don't stay on top of it, or if you don't stay organized with your certificates and your handouts, and you go to renew your license or you forget to renew your license, then you can run into all kinds of disasters.
Exactly.
And we have both been in the place where we were coming up on our license renewal and we didn't have enough hours and we had to just cram in as much as we could within a couple of days.
Yes.
And that's not ideal.
No, I honestly want to share one of the biggest, it was a really helpful piece of advice that I got from a mentor when I was first starting in pediatrics at my first clinic. And what I had learned was to put everything in a binder with clear plastic protective sheets, any certificates you have, your license, your diploma, anytime you're featured in a news article, literally anything and everything, put it in your binder. And that way, when it comes to specifically renewing your license, you go to the date, you have all of your certificates, you know exactly when they are, they're in order, you take a picture, you upload it to your board or your state, and you have it all then and there. And that has been an absolute game changer for me.
Well, and I think too, if you do get audited and have to show proof of all of your continuing education hours for the past 3 years, then it's easy. It's right there. You don't have to go in search of anything. You don't have to worry about it because it's exactly where it needs to be.
Exactly. So that's helpful. And then the other thing that we see here too, like Jessica kind of mentioned already, is that you're either not staying on top of your CEU hours, you're not taking courses consistently throughout the year, and you're cramming it to the end. But you're also, we want to be motivated to take new courses, to learn new strategies, to find things that really will benefit our clients in a positive way. So find topics that you're interested in learning more about. Find topics that, your clients are all really struggling with, if there's a common theme, and try to take that deep dive and learn. Maybe get a certification or get some new credentials for that specific area. But I just found that helpful. Like, I feel like I have so many courses in the queue right now.
So do I.
That I'm working through. Vision, I'm taking a red light therapy course, an ADHD course, of course, all the primitive reflex courses, but I just can't get enough of it. I need more time. And I think that's one of the other challenges too.
Yeah, what I have done to just make sure that I never get into a place where I, am coming up to renewal and I don't have enough hours is I just make sure that I finish a course every couple of months. And I've been pretty consistently buying 3 to 6 hour long courses, which you do a couple of those every year and you will easily meet your hours.
Yeah, I have about a 30 to 40 minute commute each way to work, and so I will actually listen to the courses on my drive into work, and I get a good solid, usually about an hour each day that I'm driving, which has been really helpful, and it makes my drive more beneficial. And so that's one way that I am consistent with taking those too.
Yeah.
So
that was about it for that one. Yeah. Don't get behind.
Let us know if you agree or if you feel this is something that resonates with you as well.
Yeah. All right. Mistake number 2 is having so many clients, being so busy that you're not engaging in your treatment sessions. We would call this, you are having a passive treatment session where you have your plan, you tell your client what to do, and then you are distracted by either catching up on notes or documentation, or just not engaging with the client while they're completing their therapeutic activities.
Yeah. And unfortunately, this is something that I saw in the clinic a lot. And I especially see it when therapists are behind in their documentation, or they're just not feeling engaged with their clients, or they're just maybe not loving what they're doing, or maybe they're seeing too many clients. And it's really frustrating to me to see this. It's really frustrating for the clients too, who we have to think about these families are bringing their kids to us to hopefully make a difference. And so I always think you should be treating your clients as if the parents are watching you, as if someone is watching you at all times, because I feel like people won't slack off and sit down and not engage as much as they should with their clients, or sit at the table for half an hour if they have that pressure of okay, I've got someone here, I've got someone to train, I've got someone to teach. I just feel like we should all be treating our clients as if someone's watching us.
Yeah, and if this is happening because you're behind on documentation, because you have too many clients, then it's time to take a look at, okay, do I need to reduce my workload and drop one client every week so that I have an hour to catch up on my documentation without it coming home with me, and look at it realistically and say, is that something I need to do?
Yeah, if you're hoping for just an easy paycheck, this is not the job for you, because there's a lot of people relying on you to do your best work, and this is not a passive job. You need to be moving, you need to be grooving, you need to be up, down, all around, rolling on the floor, swinging. You should be sweating by the end of the day.
For some kids, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that it's okay if you're in pediatrics and you're 6 months in and you're I'm not having fun, I'm not wanting to engage with these clients, this might not be the right area for me. It's okay to pivot and go to a different area.
Exactly.
It's actually better to do that than stay in the area that you're not having a good time and wanting to learn more about.
Exactly. And then making sure that you, again, are taking those continuing education courses to try and like get that spark back if you've lost the spark, or just maybe making sure that you are having a conversation with your mentor or your boss or whoever it is in charge, and just saying, look, I am overwhelmed and overworked and overstressed, and I need to make a change because I'm not doing my best work. And I think having those open, honest conversations are going to be a lot more beneficial than you probably think.
They're going to be hard conversations, but they're necessary. Yeah,
For sure.
Mistake number 3 is not involving the family or the caregivers often enough. And this really comes down to home programs, OT homework, giving tools and strategies, creating and providing sensory diet routines, and really just making sure that this isn't like a parent comes in, drops their kid off for OT, and then leaves, and that's it. And there's no follow through. There's no carryover of anything. There's no handouts being given. There's no like reward system set up for the kids of like, hey, do your OT homework at home, bring it back, and you get, a sticker on your chart, whatever it is. But it's like a daycare drop off.
Yeah.
Don't want it to be that.
We don't want it to be that. And I used to go so overboard with giving families handouts and strategies and activities, and just, I'd create these just extravagant sensory diets, and here you go. Okay, good luck. Go do them. And realized that I was missing the mark. These families are already extremely overwhelmed. They are uncomfortable with the thought of implementing even one more thing. So what I switched to was asking the families and the caregivers, what can you incorporate on a given day? And meet them where they're at. If they say, we have 10 minutes before bed, what can we do then? And then you start there and you give them the strategies.
Yeah, that's a good example of like the other end of the spectrum. We either have therapists who are on one end where they don't give the family anything, and then the other end where you have the therapists who give them everything. And
does that surprise you?
how do you come and meet in the middle and asking the family what they can carry over? What do they need for home? This episode's going to go out. We're batch recording right now ahead of time, but I was just talking to clients about school recently and asking them like, hey, what do you need for your child to start school? What can I give you? What tips do you need? Do you need a new sensory diet routine for after school? Do you need a visual schedule for the morning routine? So asking families what they need at home is going to help you understand not only what your treatment should be like, because then you can address those specific things, but also what you can give to the families for carryover.
Exactly. So I think one strategy too that can be helpful is if you are in, let's say, a pediatric outpatient clinic, that's where we've always worked. Generally we take the kids back, we do our session, and then we bring the kids out and we explain what we did. If you need to bring the family or the caregiver into the session so they can watch and observe and see how you do different movements and activities and how you're interacting with the child, then do that. You don't have to leave the families in the dark and then come out and explain in 10 minutes while it's wild and crazy. Bring them back, or take videos if you get permission, and take videos of how they're doing with a certain activity and how you modify it and how you grade it, and just try to make it an experience for everyone, not just daycare drop off and then back. Right?
Yeah, that's not therapy.
No.
There you go.
Okay. Mistake number 4 is not following a bottom-up approach. Now, this one can go either way, because some people don't like to follow a bottom-up approach, but for us, we have found it to be really successful and really helpful when we do address a child's unique situation by focusing on their sensory challenges and their primitive reflex integration, as well as their nervous system regulation. So if we start from the base of the pyramid, our base of the pyramid it has to be strong. It has to be a good foundation in order to, help a child achieve those higher level academic skills, ocular motor skills, focus, learning, attention, all the things. And so starting from that bottom-up approach of giving them strategies to build sensory reflex nervous system regulation into their daily routine is going to be really helpful.
We just got a question on Instagram from a teacher who has a specific classroom for the autistic children who have higher needs and need higher supports. And she was asking how to help these kids, improve their visual attention, their time on task, their impulse control, all these executive function skills. And my response to her was, they need more sensory input. They need to crawl. They need sensory breaks. Get a space or use the classroom that you're in to set up a motor lab, take away the desks and the chairs, just use the floor. And I told her very specifically that if you can meet these kids' sensory needs and provide movement, then they'll be able to work on those executive function skills. So it's exactly that.
Yeah, I love that example.
Yep. So going along with that for the clinic, make sure you have a good foundation of sensory processing and sensory integration. There's a lot of courses out there where you can learn more about it. Make sure you are learning more about primitive reflexes, and use what you learn there to set your clients up for success by completing those activities before, like Rachel said, before you're asking them to use their executive function skills.
Yeah, proactively versus reactively, right? We talk about that all the time, making sure that we are implementing those strategies consistently throughout the day and make sure that we're giving them the tools to just meet their basic needs, make sure their biological needs are met, rather than, having them sit down at the table and do a handwriting task when they can't even sit in their chair properly and feel comfortable. So, food for thought.
Yep.
And mistake number 5 is neglecting your own boundaries and not taking care of yourself. This is one that I'm assuming we have all struggled with. I know personally, this was a really hard thing for me, and I had to set a boundary specifically in the clinic. If I saw 5 kids in a row, which was basically 5 hours of direct treatment time without a break, I was unwell. I couldn't get my notes done. I didn't have the energy because I couldn't get enough food. Was barely having time to go to the bathroom between clients. And so being able to set those boundaries at your place of work is going to be really, really important in order to provide the best services that you can.
Yep. Set those boundaries. Make sure that, if you are, okay, this is the other side of it, is as a new grad, as somebody new to pediatrics, you are going to become a really good therapist because of the amount of time you put in. You learn so much on the job. So you do want to jump in and make sure you're getting as much treatment time as possible so you can learn and practice and just get better. But simultaneously, you have to make sure you're taking those breaks for yourself.
Exactly.
Make sure you're keeping up on your documentation. Make sure you have time for continuing education. Make sure you're taking time to go outside and drink plenty of water, and that, do your best to not take work home. I think we've all been there where we had to do that, but if you can avoid it, that's great.
And then make sure, especially if you are a new grad, make sure that you're advocating for mentorship, right? The only way we're going to learn hands-on strategies is through mentorship. And if you are going into a place of work where you have no one to ask questions to, you have no one mentoring you and taking you under your wing and teaching you all the things, that's going to be a disservice and going to be really a quick recipe for disaster and burnout. So make sure that you have that in place when you are negotiating your contract, when you are, getting hired. Make sure that those conversations come up as well. Ask for, what the schedule looks like. Make sure that if you don't want clients to be put on your caseload without asking, make sure that you have that, conversation. Just make sure that you're open and you're kind in your communication, and you're not just like, oh, well, no, I can't see 5 kids in a row. Just say, look, I do not
That voice was hilarious.
I do not perform my best when you put 5 kids on my schedule without a break. So please don't do that. Please, I'm begging you.
Yeah, that was always a rough time for me. Made it through, but it was hard.
Of course.
For sure.
Yeah. I just remember I have some vivid memories of going home and just being so exhausted, so overwhelmed. 8 kids in a day, 5, and then a 30-minute break, and then 3 more. And I'm just so over it.
Yep.
So over it.
Yeah. It's true.
Never again.
Yeah, burnout's a real thing. Yeah, healthcare field.
We do have a couple of other podcast episodes on burnout. If you want to learn more about it, we have a great interview and some helpful strategies. So if that is something that you're dealing with, make sure you check out those episodes too.
Yeah, hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this, if you are new to the field, new to pediatrics, hopefully this gave you some ideas of things to do and don't do. And, if you've been in the field for a long time and you're listening, maybe this was a good reminder of some things.
Yep. Hopefully. If it was helpful, leave us a review. We appreciate those. That helps to fuel our fire. We appreciate it. And make sure you're following us on Instagram at All Things Sensory Podcast. And if you want, take a screenshot, share this on your stories, tag us, and that really helps spread the word and shares it with other therapists who need to learn.
Yep. Thanks so much for being here. We'll be back next week.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for listening to All Things Sensory by Harkla.
If you want more information on anything mentioned in the show, head over to harkla.co/podcast to get the show notes.
If you have any follow-up questions, the best place to ask those is in the comments on the show notes or message us on our Instagram account, which is at Harkla_family or at All Things Sensory Podcast. If you just search Harkla, you'll find us there.
Like we mentioned before, our podcast listeners get 10% off their first order at Harkla. Whether it's for one of our digital courses or one of our sensory swings, the discount code SENSORY will get you 10% off. That's SENSORY.
Head to harkla.co/sensory to use that discount code right now.
We are so excited to work together to help create confident kids all over the world. While we make every effort to share correct information, we're still learning.
We will double check all of our facts, but realize that medicine is a constantly changing science and art.
One doctor or therapist may have a different way of doing things from another.
We are simply presenting our views and opinions on how to address common sensory challenges, health-related difficulties, and what we have found to be beneficial that will be as evidence-based as possible.
By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical condition in either yourself or your child.
Consult your child's pediatrician or therapist for any medical issues that he or she may be having.
This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the podcast.
Thanks so much for listening.